Look at the cleaning lady.
Non mi sottovalutate.
Vi pasalete.
Untersuestimbo.
Sir. The fluorescent lights in the Grand Palazzo's grand lobby hummed like distant thunder, throwing pale yellow pools across the marble. Sophia Khan pushed her heavy cleaning cart slowly between the columns, the wheels whispering against the floor. At 1:17 a.m., the hotel felt like a sleeping palace, empty corridors, silent elevators, only the occasional security guard nodding as she passed. Tonight the lobby wasn't empty. Near the private gold elevator doors, a tense knot of people had formed. 8 men in dark tailored suits, 2 women in shimmering evening gowns, and at the very center Lorenzo De Luca. Even from 30 feet away, Sophia could feel the gravity he carried. Tall, broad-shouldered, black hair swept back, charcoal suit cut sharp enough to cut glass. He was speaking in low, controlled Italian to a shorter man whose face she recognized from tabloid headlines. Victor Russo, the Eastern ports magnate who had been trying to muscle into Lorenzo's territory for months. The argument had already passed polite. Victor gestured sharply, voice rising. "You think you can freeze me out of the docks? After all the favors I've done? Explain yourself." Lorenzo in detail. Lorenzo's reply was calm, almost bored. "I don't explain myself to men who bring 3 bodyguards to a business discussion." Victor laughed harsh, theatrical. "Then let's make it simple. You want my signature on the new contract. I want every term crystal clear. No games. No translators hiding behind you. One of, sir." Lorenzo's men stepped forward. "We have interpreters on standby." Victor spread his hands. "Bring them, all of them. I want no room for misunderstandings tonight." Sophia kept polishing the same brass handrail, head down, ears sharp. She had seen power plays before. 10 years of night shifts in 5-star hotels taught her more about human nature than any university ever could. She stayed quiet, invisible, exactly the way she liked it. Within 15 minutes, 12 interpreters arrived, crisp suits, leather portfolios, nervous glances. They lined up like soldiers awaiting orders. The first began translating Victor's rapid Italian into precise English. He lasted 3 minutes before Victor switched to thick Russian mid-sentence. The man blinked, stammered, then stepped back, shaking his head. The second tried. Victor threw in German slang. The third managed Arabic for 40 seconds before Victor laughed and dropped Farsi. One after another they fell, some after full paragraphs, others after a single barbed phrase. The 11th, a young woman with trembling hands, tried to follow when Victor slipped into Portuguese. She managed 2 sentences before her voice broke, and she retreated, cheeks flaming. By the 12th, the air felt electric with humiliation. Victor crossed his arms, smirking. "No one left? Then I guess we're finished here." Lorenzo's jaw tightened just a fraction. "We're finished when I say we are." That was when Sophia set her cloth down. The small sound echoed like a gunshot in the sudden quiet. Every head turned. Victor barked a short laugh. "What, the maid's going to translate now?" A few of Lorenzo's men exchanged amused glances. One muttered something under his breath. Sophia pushed her cart forward 3 steps and stopped. She lifted her chin. "I can translate," she said. Her voice was quiet, steady, carrying easily across the marble. Victor's smirk widened. "You? In that uniform?" Lorenzo studied her for a long beat. Something shifted in his dark eyes: curiosity, calculation, maybe the faintest spark of amusement. "Prove it," he said. Sophia met Victor's gaze first. Then she spoke. She repeated Victor's last mocking sentence in perfect Italian, matching his cadence exactly. Then she switched to Russian, delivering the same words with a flawless Moscow accent. Then German crisp, Berlin sharp, Mandarin Beijing tones smooth as silk, Arabic Gulf inflection, Farsi Tehran rhythm, Portuguese Lisbon lilt. Finally back to English, every nuance intact. 8 languages, not one hesitation. The lobby went deathly still. Victor's smirk vanished like smoke. The failed interpreters stared, mouths slightly open. Lorenzo's men shifted their weight, suddenly alert. Sophia folded her hands in front of her apron. "Now," she said softly, "shall we continue?" Victor opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Lorenzo stepped forward slow, deliberate. His eyes never left her face. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. "Sophia Khan," she, sir, answered. I clean floors, and I speak 8 languages. That's all you need to know for this conversation. A long silence. Then Lorenzo nodded once. Join us, he said, gesturing toward the private conference room down the corridor. Victor hesitated, pride clearly warring with necessity. Finally, he jerked his chin and followed. Sophia hesitated too just for a heartbeat. Then she pushed her cart after them, the squeak of the wheels the only sound in the stunned lobby. She had come to mop floors. She was walking into a room full of dangerous men wearing a name tag that said housekeeping, and for the first time in 10 years, she didn't feel invisible. She felt dangerous. The conference room door closed with a soft, final click, sealing the group inside like a vault. The long mahogany table gleamed under recessed lighting, reflecting the faces of the men who controlled empires and the woman who had just upended their night in a housekeeping uniform. Sophia positioned herself at the far end, not sitting yet, just standing with her hands clasped in front of her apron, as though waiting for permission. Lorenzo took the head of the table without ceremony. Victor Russo sat opposite, his earlier smirk replaced by a tight, calculating expression. His bodyguards stood behind him like dark pillars. Lorenzo's men lined the walls, silent, watchful. The 12 failed interpreters had been dismissed with quiet efficiency. Only Sophia remained. Lorenzo's gaze settled on her. Sit, he said again. Sir. Quieter this time. She hesitated for half a second, old habit of staying out of sight, then pulled out the chair and lowered herself into it. The leather was cool against her legs. She kept her back straight, chin level. Victor leaned forward first, testing the waters. He spoke in rapid Italian, laced with deliberate Russian loanwords phrases, meant to trip anyone not truly fluent in both. Sophia translated without pause, her voice clear and even. She caught the subtle jab hidden in the Russian slang, rendered it into precise Italian so Lorenzo heard every barb. Victor's eyes narrowed. He switched tactics mid-sentence to German, then a sudden drop into Mandarin technical terms about shipping routes and tariffs. She followed seamlessly. No stumble, no request for clarification. When he threw in an Arabic colloquialism to describe Lorenzo's arrogance, she delivered it back in perfect Levantine Arabic before returning to English. Victor tried harder, Portuguese curses disguised as business terms, Farsi idioms about trust and betrayal. She matched him every time, accent flawless, tone neutral, never letting emotion bleed into the words. For 43 minutes the verbal duel continued. Sophia became the bridge, the mirror, the unflinching conduit. She translated threats as threats, bluffs as bluffs, veiled promises as veiled promises. She never raised her voice. She never looked away. Victor's face grew progressively redder, his hands clenched on the table. At one point he slammed, "Sir," his palm down hard enough to make the water glasses jump. "Enough," he snapped in English. "This is ridiculous." She's accurate." Lorenzo cut in, voice low and final, "which is more than I can say for the professionals you insisted on." Victor's jaw worked. He stared at Sophia like she was a puzzle piece that didn't fit. Then he looked at Lorenzo. "You win this round," he said through his teeth. "I'll sign. Tomorrow, my office, noon." Lorenzo inclined his head once. Noon. Victor stood. His bodyguards moved with him. At the door he paused, glanced back at Sophia. "You're wasted on floors, cleaner." She met his eyes calmly. "I like clean floors." He snorted once, half laugh, half defeat, and left. The door closed. The room exhaled. Lorenzo's men relaxed fractionally. One of them, broad-shouldered, scar along his left cheek, called Enzo, stepped forward. "Boss, we need to vet her. Tonight, full background. She could be I know who she is," Lorenzo said quietly. Sophia's breath caught. He turned to her fully now, elbows resting on the table, fingers steepled. "Sophia Khan," he repeated, as though tasting the name. "Daughter of Ambassador Tariq Khan, disappeared from public life after his accident in Dubai 10 years ago. Fluent in 8 languages because you lived in 8 capitals before you were 18. You changed your name, took menial jobs, stayed off grids. You've been cleaning hotels from Dubai to Rome to here for a decade." She didn't flinch. "You've done your, sir, homework." "I do homework on everyone who walks into my meetings." His eyes held hers. "But I didn't expect the maid to be the one who saved the night." Enzo shifted uncomfortably. "Boss," Lorenzo raised a hand. Enzo fell silent. Sophia spoke before the tension could thicken further. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I was there, and because I hate unfinished conversations. A ghost of a smile touched Lorenzo's mouth gone in an instant. You're not going back to the night shift tonight, he said. I have rent to pay. You'll be paid, double, for tonight's work. She started to protest. He stood. You just translated a negotiation that could have turned ugly. Victor saw you. He'll want to know who you are and why you speak his languages better than his own people. Until I'm sure he's not coming after you, you stay here. She rose slowly. I'm not part of your world. You just became part of it, he said simply. Enzo opened his mouth again. Lorenzo's look silenced him for good. Sophia looked around the room at the expensive wood, the city lights beyond the glass, the men who moved like wolves. Then she looked back at Lorenzo. I have conditions. He tilted his head. Name them. No uniforms. No carts. No pretending I'm invisible. Done. She exhaled. And I want the truth. No games. If I'm staying here even for one night, I want to know why you're willing to trust a stranger with your business. Lorenzo studied her for a long moment. Then he stepped close enough, sir, that she could see the faint tension at the corners of his eyes, the weariness he hid from everyone else. Because tonight, he said quietly, for the first time in years, someone in this room spoke the truth without an agenda. You didn't flinch. You didn't flatter. You just translated. Exactly. Honestly. He paused. I don't meet many people like that. Sophia felt heat rise in her cheeks. She looked away first. East Suite, Lorenzo said to Enzo. Full security. No one in or out without clearance. Enzo nodded once, then gestured for Sophia to follow. She hesitated at the door, looked back. Lorenzo was still watching her. Good night, Sophia, he said. Good night, she answered. The corridor swallowed her footsteps. She walked beside Enzo in silence, heart beating too fast. She had come to work. She was leaving under armed escort to a penthouse suite, and the most dangerous man in the city had just looked at her, like she was the only honest thing he'd seen in years. The East Suite felt more like a private residence than a hotel room. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city's glittering river, the lights reflecting off the water like scattered diamonds. Cream walls, modern art in muted golds and grays, a king bed with sheets that smelled faintly of lavender. Sophia stood in the middle of the space, still in her housekeeping uniform, feeling like she'd wandered into someone else's life. A soft knock at the door. She opened it to find Enzo holding a tray coffee, fresh fruit, sir, a croissant still warm from the oven, and a folded stack of clothes. Boss said you might want something more comfortable, he said, voice gruff but not unkind. They're new. Your size. There's a bathroom through there with toiletries. Shower's got hot water that doesn't run out. She took the tray. Thank you. Enzo nodded once, then stepped back. I'll be right outside. No one gets in without clearance. You need anything, just say. The door closed. Sophia set the tray on the glass coffee table and walked to the bathroom. Marble everywhere white with gold veins. A rainfall shower big enough for 3 people. She turned the water on, let the steam fill the room, and peeled off the uniform she'd worn for 6 years like armor. The hot water hit her skin, and she stood under it for a long time, letting it wash away the smell of cleaning solution and the adrenaline still buzzing in her veins. When she stepped out, wrapped in a thick white robe, she found the clothes Enzo had left. Soft gray joggers, a simple cream long-sleeve top, socks, comfortable, thoughtful, nothing flashy. She dressed, then sat on the edge of the bed with the coffee. It was still hot. She sipped slowly, staring at the city beyond the glass. A quiet knock again, different rhythm. She crossed the room and opened the door. Lorenzo stood there. No jacket now, sleeves of his white shirt rolled to the elbows, top button undone. He looked less like the untouchable king of the city and more like a man who hadn't slept, sir, in days. May I come in? He asked. She stepped aside. He entered, hands in his pockets, eyes sweeping the room before settling on her. You're still awake, he said. So are you. He gave a small, tired smile. Habit. She gestured to the small sofa near the window. They both sat close enough to talk quietly, far enough to keep space. You didn't have to send clothes, she said. I didn't want you sleeping in a uniform that reminds you of hiding. She looked down at the soft fabric. It's nice, thank you. Silence stretched between them, comfortable, not awkward. Finally she asked, "Why did you trust me tonight?" Lorenzo leaned back, gaze on the city lights. "Because you didn't hesitate. You didn't ask what was in it for you. You just stepped in. Most people in that room would have waited for an angle. You didn't have one." "I had one," she admitted. "I hate unfinished conversations. My father used to say the worst lies are the ones left hanging in the air." Lorenzo turned to look at her. "Your father was a good man. I met him once briefly in Dubai. He was negotiating trade routes. He spoke 7 languages, never raised his voice, never needed to." Sophia's throat tightened. "He taught me the 8th. Said it was for when the world got too loud." Lorenzo nodded slowly. "He was right." She met his eyes. "You knew who I was before tonight. I suspected. Your father's disappearance left ripples. People still ask questions. When you started working here 3 years ago, I had, sir. Enzo run a quiet check. Nothing invasive, just enough to know you weren't a threat." She exhaled. "And now? Now you're the opposite of a threat." He paused. "You're the only person in this building I'm certain isn't lying to me." The words landed heavier than she expected. She looked away, toward the river. "I've spent 10 years making sure no one noticed me. Tonight I walked into a room full of men who could ruin lives with a phone call. And I spoke up." "You didn't just speak up," he said quietly. "You took control of the room without raising your voice." Victor's still trying to figure out what happened. She gave a small laugh, surprised at herself. "I didn't plan it. I just couldn't stand the silence." Lorenzo watched her for a long moment. "I don't trust easily," he said. "I've learned the hard way what happens when I do. But tonight I looked at you and I thought, if I don't trust this woman right now, I'm going to lose more than a business deal." She turned back to him. "And tomorrow? Tomorrow Victor signs. The ports stay mine. And you decide what happens next." She searched his face. "What do you want to happen next?" He didn't answer right away. Then he leaned forward slightly, elbows on his knees. "I want you to stay, not as a cleaner, not as a translator on call, as someone I can actually talk to. Someone who doesn't flinch when the conversation gets hard. Someone who sees through the bullshit." Her heart beat faster. "That's a lot to ask from a stranger," she, said. "You're not a stranger anymore." She felt the air shift, charged. "Careful. I don't know if I'm ready to step back into that world," she admitted. "The one where people disappear because they know too much." Lorenzo's expression softened. "Then don't step back into it. Step into this one. With me." She looked at him, really looked. The lines of exhaustion around his eyes. The quiet strength in his shoulders. The way he waited, without pushing. "I need time," she said. "You have all the time you want." She nodded slowly. He stood. "Get some rest. I'll be downstairs if you need anything." At the door he paused, hand on the frame. "Sophia." She looked up. "Thank you," he said, "for tonight, for speaking when no one else could." She gave a small smile. "Thank you for listening." He left. She sat on the sofa for a long time, coffee cold in her cup. Outside, the city kept moving, cars, lights, lives colliding in the dark. Inside, something had shifted. She wasn't invisible anymore. And for the first time in years, she didn't want to be. The next morning Sophia woke to sunlight spilling across the suite like spilled gold. She had slept deeper than she had in years, no dreams of running, no half-awake listening for footsteps in the hall. The bed was too comfortable, the room too quiet. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. She dressed in the same borrowed clothes, soft gray joggers. Cream toe pants stepped onto the balcony. The city looked different from up here, smaller, less threatening. She leaned against the railing, breathing in the cool morning air. When the door behind her opened, Lorenzo, he carried 2 coffee cups and a small plate of pastries. No suit today, just dark jeans, a charcoal sweater, sleeves pushed up. He looked rested, but there was still that quiet alertness in his eyes. "Morning," he said, setting the tray on the small glass table. "Morning." She turned, arms crossed lightly. "You're up early." "Habit." He handed her a cup, black, no sugar. Enzo said that's how you take it. She accepted it, surprised he'd noticed. "Thank you." They sat in the 2 wrought iron chairs facing the river. The silence between them felt easy now, not heavy, not awkward. "Victor signed at 8, Lorenzo said after a sip. "No conditions, no games." The ports are secure. Sophia exhaled slowly. So it's over. It's over. She looked at him. And me? He set his cup down. You're free to leave. I'll have a car ready in an hour, or a plane ticket, wherever you want to go. No strings. She studied the coffee in her hands. You said last night you wanted me to stay. I did, but you're giving me the choice, because I don't want you here because you feel trapped. His voice was low, careful. I want you here because you want to be. She looked up. His eyes were steady on hers, open in a way she hadn't seen before. I've spent 10 years running, she said quietly. Changing cities, changing names, keeping my head down. I told myself it was, safer. But last night, I didn't run. I stepped forward, and nothing bad happened. He waited. I'm tired of running, she finished. Lorenzo's shoulders eased just a fraction. Then don't, he said. She set her cup down. But I have rules. A small smile touched his mouth. I'm listening. No more hiding who I am. No more pretending I'm just the help. If I stay as me, Sophia Khan, not some ghost version of myself. Done. I want to work, not as a translator on call, but as your voice when you need one. I want to be in the room, not because you need me to translate words, but because you trust me to hear what's behind them. He nodded slowly. You already proved that. She hesitated on the last one. And I want honesty, from both of us. No games, no half-truths. If this is going to be anything more than a job, it starts with the truth. Lorenzo leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't do half-truths with people I care about. The words landed softly, but they hit hard. She searched his face. Do you care about me? He didn't look away. I've spent 15 years making sure I didn't care about anyone. Last night changed that. You changed that. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. You barely know me. I know enough. He reached across the small table and took her hand, gentle, careful, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. His thumb brushed over her knuckles. I know you're brave. I know you're honest. I know you see through bullshit better than anyone I've ever, met. And I know that when you look at me, you don't see the headlines or the rumors. You see me, she swallowed. And if I stay, then we figure it out. Slowly. No pressure. No contracts. Just us. She looked down at their joined hands. His were warm, steady. Hers were trembling just a little. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I, he said quietly. I've never asked anyone to stay before. She lifted her eyes to his. Then let's both be scared together. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. He stood, pulling her gently to her feet. They were close enough to feel each other's warmth. He cupped her face with both hands, thumbs brushing her cheeks. May I? He asked. She nodded. He kissed her slow, careful, like he was memorizing every second. She rose on her toes, hands finding his shoulders, answering him with everything she hadn't said in 10 years. When they parted, foreheads pressed together, he whispered against her lips. Stay. She smiled small, real, unguarded. I'm staying. He kissed her again, deeper this time, slower, like two people finally allowing themselves to want something good. Later they sat on the balcony, coffee cold, hands still linked. The city moved below them, cars, people, lives colliding. Above them, the sky was clear. For the first time in years, Sophia didn't feel like she had to disappear, and Lorenzo didn't feel like he had to carry everything alone. They had found something rare in a world that thrived on secrets, truth, and each other. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, drop a comment with your favorite moment, and subscribe for more emotional, twist-filled journeys like this one. See you in the next story.